Welcome back everybody to Moderate Mods, and I'd just like to firstly apologise that there wasn't an episode last week, but with it being Christmas and New Year and having family round and myself being busy, my schedule just got completely thrown out of whack, so I do apologise for that. But to make up for it, I am picking a car today that is a subscriber requested. The Knight Rider 88 requested this 1973 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am SD455, or at least an older Trans Am that he requested, and since this is my favourite older Trans Am that we actually have on this game, I figured we'd try this out. So yeah, big, powerful rear-wheel drive V8 powered muscle car, easily the most powerful car that we've had on this series so far, I think. Probably more horsepower than a Bentley Turbo R, I think, but it is at least easily going to be one of the fastest that we've had, because this isn't, you know, a slow, heavyweight luxury saloon, that is for sure. But it is in C class as well, so no D class offering this time round. So yeah, 372 horsepower, 480 pounds-feet of torque from 7.5 litre V8 engine. Weighs 3,695 pounds. So not a lightweight, but still far from the heaviest car that we've had on this series. And yeah, handling and braking is decent for a vehicle from this period, certainly in terms of other, you know, classic muscle cars. Acceleration is decent and top speed is pretty good as well, but that's down to how the gearing is done, not because it has a lot of gears on the go. So yeah, let's see what it can do in terms of setting a time, and see if it can handle itself around this course. Obviously it's the winter season currently on in the general open world of this game, but here it's nice and sunny, so we've got the best conditions possible. A lot of wheel spin off the line there. It does only have a 4-speed, like I said, but it does have a high rate of speed even without any 5th or 6th gears. Hell of a lot of torque. This is probably the last of the powerful classic muscle cars from the period, because as soon as 1974 and onwards began, horsepower ratings dropped as emission regulations came in, and yeah, car manufacturers in America just were really rather lazy in terms of trying to make cars more efficient, rather than actually making good engines and efficient engines or anything like that. They just restricted the power to a really rather performance impacting degree. So you'd be lucky to get a 300 plus horsepower car after 1975, so yeah, bit of a shame, but as far as one of the last classic muscle cars goes, this is easily one of my favourites. Probably a bit controversial, but I would take this over, say, a Chevelle from 1970, or even say a Corvette, just because of how much horsepower and torque this has, and the fact it's got a lot of personality and a good handling and good braking as well, and easily better top speed than those cars. But yeah, 1 minute 17.444 seconds is our first lap time there, which is fairly decent. As you can see, it's turned into more like a classic touring car race, with a upgraded Mini being the Ghost rival. Though obviously we're not trying to beat it, we're just trying to set the best time possible in this stock version of this car before we eventually upgrade it. No way it would keep up with that Mini anyway. It's an agile little thing, even if it doesn't have anywhere near the amount of power that this does. Big brute like this is not going to keep up with a lightweight, good handling car like that. Oops, bit of understeer there, unfortunately. A better time nonetheless at 1 minute 11.371. Yeah, we definitely have the speed over that Mini, but we do not. I do hope in the next Forza game, whichever it may be, Motorsport or Horizon, has more classic muscle cars. I know we have plenty as it is, but for instance we don't have the original Firebird on this game, whereas we did have it on Forza Motorsport 4, which is the I think the one and only time that car has actually appeared on a Forza game, which is a great shame because that is actually my favourite version of the Firebird. I know it's not Trans Am, it's far from the most powerful Firebird that we've ever had on one of these games, but yeah, it is my favourite version of that car. But yeah, 1 minute 9.953 seconds is our final lap time there, which is, yeah, pretty quick, easily one of the quicker first lap times from a stock car that we've had on this series. But nonetheless, let's get into the garage and upgrade this car some more, upgrade this car and see what else it can do when we actually upgrade it, and see how quick it is in comparison to this stock version. So this is a car in all its glory, though like a lot of muscle cars on this game, especially classic ones from the 60s and 70s, it's not fully viewable. So we can look inside, but we can't look at the engine or in the boot, which is a shame because this is again one of those cars that I really would like to review in a lot of ways, because like I said, it's easily my second favourite version of the Firebird. But yeah, let's take a look at the car in terms of its acceleration times and top speed before we upgrade. So 0 to 16, 5.4 seconds, easily making it one of the quickest muscle cars from the period. 0 to 112.787 seconds, and a top speed of 153 miles an hour. So yeah, again, one of the fastest in terms of top speed, as well as a lot of muscle cars from this period had really rather short gearing and not very high revving engines, and therefore we're lucky to get past 140 a lot of the time. Some didn't even get past 130. So yeah, handling upgrades are going to be the main thing for this car, because it already has plenty of power, no doubt about that. So yeah, let's give it some wide tyres, front and rear, so the handling will be better. Then we'll upgrade the gearbox a little bit to give it 5 gears instead of 4. I'm pretty sure that will give it 5 gears. If not, we'll come back and upgrade it a little bit more. We'll knock out some weight, give it a slightly better clutch, upgrade the braking to street brake, sport brakes even. Give it street suspension because it does wobble around a fair old bit. Sport anti-roll bars. We'll knock out a little bit of weight by taking out the spare wheel, reduce the battery size on any tools. Power wise, well, we'll bump it up a little bit just because, you know, to make up for the fact that we can't necessarily get rid of a lot of its weight. So give it a street intake, street carburetor, street ignition. We'll upgrade the engine block, so therefore we get a nice round 400 horsepower and 516 pounds-feet of torque. It's now 7.6 litre engine, which is, yeah, pretty damn good. And we'll lighten the flywheel a little bit as well to give it a more free revving engine. And yeah, that's about it, to be honest. So not much in terms of expense there, only 20,250 credits, which is not all that much for the amount of upgrades we've given it. As you can see, we've knocked out 74 pounds of weight, we've given it 28 extra horsepower, and obviously handling upgrades and the like have also been upgraded. So let's take a look at the acceleration times and top speed now, before we get back out onto the circuit. So yeah, now it can do 0 to 16, 4.767 seconds, so we've dropped it under the 5-second mark there. 0 to 111.550 seconds, and the top speed now of 159 miles an hour. So we're not obviously massive in terms of acceleration and the like, but in terms of improvements, but we're certainly a lot better and certainly a more competitive car even by today's standards. And as you can see, we now have 5 gears, which again is helpful, especially in a daily driver. But nonetheless, let's get back onto the circuit and see what this car can do. So we're still in C class, but now we're at the upper end of that class, and yeah, as you can see, handling and braking is now in the 5 range. Acceleration is slightly better and top speed is slightly better. We're not done a massive overhaul on this car because there was a lot already right with this vehicle, but we've changed it just a little bit to make it its own thing, especially in terms of horsepower and torque. And yeah, the weight is a little less as well, so yeah, that should help the handling as well. So let's see what it can do. Now our original, or should I say, our fastest time in the stock version of this car was 1 minute 9 seconds .953. So yeah, I fully expect this car to be able to beat that, but by how much I'll have to see. 5 gears though will make it mean that the engine is kept in the power band more often, rather than, you know, changing gears several times before we even hit 90 miles an hour. Yeah, it definitely feels better in terms of handling. There's a lot less roll. It feels a lot stiffer, and yeah, feels a lot more responsive to being turned in at a high rate of speed as well, which is exactly what we needed. So those wider tyres are working their magic. So you don't even have to change the tread of the tyre, you just need to widen them on a lot of the time, and that will make a lot of difference. Obviously changing the tread to say sport or even race would obviously make this car even better in terms of handling, but we're only doing moderate mods and not, you know, overhauling the whole thing. A lot of the time it's easier just to widen a tyre than find a new tread that will fit the car itself. So we're a lot faster down here. 1 minute 13.707 is our first lap time there. So yeah, easily faster than the first lap time of the stock vehicle, which I think is around 1 minute 17. As you can see, there's clearly a difference because we're keeping ahead of the Mini for a longer time. Obviously we're not going to keep ahead of it for the whole lap, but yeah, the fact that we're ahead of it at least for another corner or so is a sign of how much this has been improved. Braking to deal with all that extra weight means we can brake a lot later. Less soft suspension and less weight as well is also helping. So not only do we have slightly stiffer suspension, but we've got less weight riding on those springs in the first place, which is again beneficial. 1 minute 7.050 seconds, so we've already beaten our original time of 1 minute 9.93. One minute 9.953, should I say. But yeah, that is a sizable improvement, 1-2 seconds over the original car. Certainly a lot sportier in the corners, which has come down to not very many mods, which is always good. The whole point of this series is to highlight the fact that you do not need all that many in the way of upgrades to make a car a more enjoyable or at least more competitive car to drive. So yeah, there we go, 1 minute 6.483 seconds, so that's what, more than 3 seconds quicker than the original car, which is, yeah, mightily impressive. So yeah, and again, we haven't even done all that much to the car. We've had a bit of extra horsepower, a bit of extra torque, widened the tyres, improved the brakes, improved the anti-roll bars, lightened it a little bit via the driveline and knocking out a few parts that we don't need, giving it a slightly better clutch, giving it an extra gear, and yeah, lightened the flywheel, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, mightily impressed by how quick and how much of an improvement this car is, because the standard car itself is a really rather good muscle car, but this has turned it into a more of a sports car now than just a muscle car. More of a kind of in between the two of them, to be honest, because yeah, it's still got all of the power and torque of a muscle car, but now it turns in a lot better, brakes a lot better, and yeah, is a little bit more responsive in terms of handling. So yeah, very noticeable upgrades there, despite not spending all that much in the way of credits. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye.